Good morning, First Baptist. Very glad to be with you this morning as we are going to be looking at a psalm that I'm sure is very familiar to all of us, Psalm 23, one that I'm sure many of you don't even really need to open your scriptures to recite or to know about. But nevertheless, we are going to be looking at this, and I think it is just rather perfectly timed that we look at a psalm like this morning, given the just the cloud and the darkness and the pain that our communities are feeling right now, and the fear and the frustration and the hate that is out. And I hope you just join me in praying for all those who are involved with these situations, and just continue to lift up our leaders in prayer and those who are making decisions, that healing and comfort might come to all in this. And I know it's been just a really weird time that we've been going through with the pandemic, and now with all of these other situations that we see popping up all over the country. But God is good in all of these things, and God has a plan for all of these things. And Psalm 23 is a very, very big comfort for us in this time. And I'm going to be reading it because of the familiarity of it that we all have to it. I'm going to be reading it in a translation that many of you may have never read out of. It's a newer translation. It's called the CSB. It's an updated version of the Holman Christian Standard, but it's a newer translation, and it's so I want to read it, kind of give a little bit of a fresh perspective on the words. But what we see in this psalm above all else is the intimacy of the Lord, and how previously in the Psalms we see that God is in the heavens, God created all things, that God is the king of all, and that all the nations are in subordination to him. But as of yet, we have not really seen a psalm that is going to be talking about God in the way that Psalm 23 talks about God, in that he is imminent with us. He is here. He is right here with you now. He is very close at hand, as close as a shepherd is with his sheep. So God is not far off, that he is unreachable or unattainable, or not within access to us. He is close. He is right here next to us. He is leading us, and that is what the psalm brings to us as per our theology of God, that God is here. God is imminent. God is close to us. God is personal with us. So Psalm 23, reading from the CSB, a newer translation, just to give a little bit of a freshening to the words, that we might hear them a little differently. Psalm 23, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd. Just that intimate, that language, that word would have brought very, very intimate connotations to the people reading this. And it would have been a bit striking. The Lord is my shepherd. I have what I need. He lets me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He renews my life. He leads me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even when I go through the darkest valley, I fear no danger, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So the shepherd imagery, of course, is what he's leaning upon to bring to bear this idea that Yahweh is an intimate God, one that is close to us, one that is here with us, one that cares about your day-to-day situations, the problems that you have, the pains that you have, the frustrations that you have. He's here. He cares about those things. He doesn't just care about big things. He cares about everything, all the small things. He cares about them. He's our shepherd. Because he is our shepherd, because he is imminently with us, we have all that we need. There's nothing we want. There's nothing we lack. There's nothing that we need above the Lord as our shepherd. He brings us into green pastures. He leads us beside quiet waters. This denotes the peace that comes through a life of and the comfort and the joy that comes through a life that is lived with the Lord as their shepherd. He renews my life. He leads me along right paths. These two terms are salvific in nature, but not just initial salvation, as in like he renews my life, as in he saves my life. That is the case as well, but it's also a continuation. He continues to deliver us. He continues to save our life. He led us in right paths initially to bring us into salvation, but he continues to lead us upon right paths. So this is an all-inclusive salvation that the Lord brings to us as our shepherd. He renews our life. He leads us along right paths for his name's sake, right? God is going to deliver us so that the nations might know that he alone is the true God. That is a significantly huge Old Testament theme. Now, what we see in verse 4 is that the God who is with us in the comfort of life is also with us in the pain of life. The God who is with us in the comforts of life is also equally with us in the pain of life. Even when I go through the darkest valley, and this could be referring to death, of course, I fear no danger. Why? Why do you not fear any danger when you're facing something like death? The reason is, for you, the shepherd, are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, there's two ideas here, the rod and the staff. The rod would have been the weapon that the shepherd would carry, that he would use to ward off wolves and bears and whatever else that would be coming at the sheep. And the staff was used for the shepherd to walk with, but also to guide the sheep. So these two things comfort the sheep, right? The defensive nature of Yahweh, but also the guiding, prodding, and disciplinary nature of God are two things that should bring great comfort to us, that God will protect us from our outward enemies, and that God would also protect us from our biggest enemy, which is ourselves. That he will shield us from those who would attack us on the outside, but that he will also do what is necessary to deliver us from ourselves. He will discipline us. He will guide us. He will lead us, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understandings. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. This should bring us great comfort, that God is not going to abandon us to ourselves, but God is going to guide us through and help us reform our minds and give us a right understanding, and understanding that will trust in him and not lean on our own understandings. Okay, so this is the shepherd imagery that David brings to the psalm, and it tells us that he is imminent, that he is intimate with us, that he is close to us, right? Like a shepherd with his sheep, he is with us. Even when we go through the darkest valley, when we face death. And one of my favorite, Pastor Ben and I's favorite commentators on the Psalms is a guy named Derek Kidner. And he says this about this verse: only the Lord can lead a man through death. All other guides turn back, and the traveler must go on alone. This is great comfort, right? Only the Lord can lead a man through death. All other guides, your family, your pastors, your friends, when that point comes, all of us must turn back, and only the Lord can continue to lead you through. And we know that we have that provision for us from God, that we will never be alone. Even in death, we will not be alone. Okay, so the intimacy that we see in the first four verses is brought to us by a metaphor of God being like a shepherd to us. Verses 5 through 6 get even more intimate and even more imminent with us, in that God is not just our shepherd, but God is actually our friend. God is actually close to us as a friend would be close to us. Verse 5, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Let me just comment on that first part first. You prepare a table before me. In American culture, it is still significant that the people you have over to your home to eat with you are, tend to be your friends, like your close friends. It's a sign of solidarity. It's a sign of friendship and of oneness and community. But take that, what it means to us today, and multiply it by a lot when you talk about this culture. To have someone over to eat with you and to break bread together was a very significant, intimate, and affirming action towards the relationship that you would have with that person. So this would not be lost on the first readers when they read that God is going to eat with us, that God is going to dine with us, that God is going to break bread with us. This is amazing. This is incredible. This is unheard of, right? And not just break bread with us, but do so in the presence of our enemies. And I think what the idea that is being connotated here is that it's a victory meal. It was common for nations when they would have victory over another nation to eat a meal in the presence of the ones that they've captured from the other nation as a sign of victory. And this is, David has mentioned many of his enemies so far in the first 1 through 22 Psalms. And now he's saying that through the relationship that he has with Yahweh, that he will dine with Yahweh, but Yahweh will also have that meal be in the presence of his enemies. And then the next two lines are indicative of what the meal will be like. You anoint my head with oil. This is a fullness idea, a rich idea, a overwhelming wealth sort of idea. My cup overflows. Once again, there's more than enough. With Yahweh, there's always more than enough. Only goodness and faithful love will pursue me. Only goodness and covenantal love is the term, will pursue me all the days of my life. Now, like I said, the God who is there in the comfort is also the God who's there in the darkness, in the pain. And goodness and faithful love come to us by means of the comforts that God sends to us, but they also come to us by means of the pain that God sends to us. This is an idea that for sure was informing Paul when he wrote chapter 8 of Romans, that in all things we're more than conquerors, right? If he did not spare his son, how will he not also give us all things, whether it's life or death? So all things, the comfort that you experience in life and the pain that you experience in life come to you out of the kindness and the goodness and the covenantal love of Yahweh. We have to accept that. We have to believe that and remind ourselves of that. We have to remind ourselves of that this morning, that the fear and the pain and the angst that we see our world in today, God has a purpose in these things, and God is going to make his name great through these things. And we need to walk in that faith, that God is going to do that, even when it's hard to do that. And today is a day where it's going to be hard to do that. But we need to remember the truth that the God who is with us in the comfort is also the God who is with us in the darkness and in the pain. So verse 6, only goodness and faithful love will pursue me all the days of my life in all things, whether in life or death, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord. This is similar to the dining with the Lord idea, dwelling in his house. If you dwelled in the house of somebody or stayed with them, this was a huge sign of their love and their compassion and their care for you. And dwelling in the house of the Lord would have been unheard of and unthinkable to the first readers. But what a great promise it truly is. Famously, this psalm ends with forever, right? I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. You can translate it a few different ways, I suppose. The way that the CSB translates it is as long as I live. I will dwell in the house of the Lord as long as I live. And Kidner points out, or at least hints at the idea that this could be a hint at the idea that God was going to bring life after death, that they would live with the Lord now in their life, but also that God was going to bring them life and be with them even after they die. So interesting, I think the idea is forever. But the covenant of the Lord, Kidner points out that the covenant of the Lord, I hope I didn't cut out. I think I kind of glitched a little bit. I'll repeat what I said just so that I don't know if I cut out. So the last part of the psalm famously ends with the word forever. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And Kidner points out that probably a more accurate translation of that would be as long as I live, which is what the CSB translates it. And he points out that this could be hinting at the idea that Yahweh doesn't just save us now in our current lives, but he's actually going to deliver us past our current life. That hints at the idea of a resurrection. And because what would necessitate that is the fact that God does not make a covenant with Abraham for his life. He makes a covenant with Abraham forever. And he has an idea of being past just this current life. So this, of course, means forever. This, of course, means that these promises will never run out, that this relationship will never end. A lot of relationships that we have can end, in our lives. But this one won't. This one will never end. And God will never get tired of us. God will never feel like he's done doing these things for us. He will be this close and this intimate with you forever. Forever. He will always be your shepherd. He will always be your friend. And we will always be dining in the house of the Lord, even after we die. And that is such a wonderful and critical promise that we have to cling to, even through the darkest paths that we might walk down, including some of the days that we've seen in 2020 so far. So I am praying for all of you, and I am just continually seeking the Lord in this time. We are and just hoping that God will show himself strong and mighty through all of this. And I know he will for his glory. And praying that all of you are still staying safe and that everything is going well for you. Pastor Ben's sending out an email. Currently, it's got some exciting news about when we're going to reopen, so check that out. And we're very excited to be going to be back with you very soon. So you can read the email and see what the leadership has decided as per the reopening. And just praying that you guys are doing well, and we are looking forward to being all together very soon. And we will be, I'll be catching you, I think, on Thursday again for another study out of the Psalms. And Pastor Ben will be doing the Devos the other days of this week. So looking forward to those, and looking forward to seeing all of you once again. And just be praying for our community and for the communities that surround us and for our nation as a whole as we charter these dangerous waters ahead. So love all of you. Looking forward to being with you again very, very soon.